The champagne flute felt like it might shatter in my grip as Veronica leaned close, her red lips barely moving as she whispered the words that would change everything between us. "Stay away from me at this party, Caleb. You're embarrassing me in front of important people." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Caleb Rourke, 41 years old, and I've been married to this woman for 18 years. 18 years of building a life together, raising our daughter Sophie, and apparently, according to my wife, becoming some kind of social liability she needed to hide from her precious, luxury event planning clients. The penthouse party buzzed around us, all crystal chandeliers and fake laughter. Veronica looked stunning in her designer red dress, the one that cost more than most people's monthly rent. She'd spent 2 hours getting ready, transforming herself into the perfect image of success and sophistication. Meanwhile, I stood there in my best suit, apparently not good enough for her anymore. "Perfect," I said, setting down my champagne. "Enjoy your party." I walked away, leaving her standing there with her mouth slightly open. The night air on the rooftop terrace felt clean compared to the suffocating atmosphere inside. Below us, the city sprawled out in all directions, lights twinkling like fallen stars. This was supposed to be Veronica's big moment, the launch party for her event planning company's expansion into luxury corporate retreats. She'd been planning this for months, obsessing over every detail, and apparently I was the one detail that didn't fit. My phone buzzed. A text from Veronica. "Where did you go? People are asking about you." I typed back, "With someone who's proud to be seen with me." Then I blocked her number. The parking garage was quiet, just the hum of expensive cars and the distant sound of the party above. I found my Honda Civic, modest, reliable, everything Veronica had grown to despise about our life together. Next to it sat a sleek black BMW with the vanity plate Winner 1. I'd seen this car before, in our driveway when Liam Voss came by to discuss work projects with Veronica. Liam, her colleague, her collaborator, her harmless friend, who somehow needed to meet at our house on weekends and stay for dinner. The same Liam who always had a reason to touch Veronica's shoulder, to lean in close when they looked at event photos together, to text her at all hours about urgent business matters. I pulled out my keys and considered my options. The rational part of my brain said to go home, have a calm conversation with my wife about boundaries and respect. The other part, the part that was tired of being treated like an inconvenience, had different ideas. The key made a satisfying scraping sound as it traced along the BMW's pristine paint job. Not deep enough to cause real damage, just enough to leave a clear message. I pulled out my phone and took photos of the car, the license plate, the location, insurance in case this escalated. Then I wrote a note on the back of a business card. "Next time, bring your own wife." I tucked it under the windshield wiper and walked away. The drive home gave me time to think. Our house sat in one of those gentrified neighborhoods where old industrial buildings had been converted into trendy lofts and condos. We'd bought it 5 years ago when Veronica's business started taking off, stretching our budget to live somewhere that matched her growing ambitions. The house was dark when I pulled into our driveway. Veronica's Mercedes wasn't there, probably wouldn't be for hours. I let myself in and stood in our designer living room, all clean lines and expensive furniture that we weren't supposed to actually use, everything perfect, everything cold. I poured myself a scotch and sat down at my laptop. 18 years of marriage leaves digital trails everywhere, shared email accounts, phone records, credit card statements. I'd never looked before because I'd never had a reason to doubt Veronica. Now, doubt was all I had. The credit card statement told an interesting story. Dinner for 2 at expensive restaurants on nights when Veronica claimed to be working late. Hotel charges for client meetings that lasted suspiciously long. a pattern of expenses that painted a picture I didn't want to see but couldn't ignore. My phone buzzed with notifications, Veronica trying to call from other numbers, sending messages through social media. I ignored them all and kept digging. The final piece of evidence came from our shared cloud storage. Veronica had been careless with her photos, backing up everything automatically. There, buried among legitimate work events and family pictures, were images that made my stomach turn. Veronica and Liam at romantic restaurants, holding hands across candlelit tables. Veronica and Liam in hotel rooms, kissing like teenagers. The timestamp showed this had been going on for months. All those late nights, all those weekend emergencies, all those times she'd made me feel like I was imagining things when I questioned her behavior. I closed the laptop and finished my scotch. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tonight, I just sat in our perfect house and planned my next move. The morning brought a hangover and a dozen missed calls from Veronica. I ignored them all and went to work at TechFlow Solutions, the software company where I'd been a product designer for the past 8 years. My cubicle felt like a refuge compared to the war zone my marriage had become overnight. "You look like hell," said Danny Martinez, my closest friend at work. He perched on the edge of my desk with his morning coffee, studying my face with concern. "Rough night?" "You could say that." I pulled up my design software and tried to focus on the user interface I was building for our latest client. "Just some marriage stuff." Danny nodded knowingly. He'd been through a messy divorce 2 years earlier, so he understood the particular exhaustion that comes with relationship drama. "Want to talk about it?" "Not yet, but I might need some advice later." "Anytime, man. You know that." I spent the morning trying to work, but my mind kept drifting to the evidence I'd found the night before. During my lunch break, I drove to see Janet Patel, the accountant who handled our personal finances. Janet was brutally honest and had no patience for emotional drama. Exactly what I needed. Her office was all business, clean and efficient like Janet herself. She looked up from her computer when I walked in, her expression immediately serious. "Caleb, this is unexpected. Is Veronica with you?" "No, and that's actually what I want to talk about." I sat down across from her desk and pulled out my phone. "I need to make some changes to our accounts." Janet leaned back in her chair, her dark eyes studying my face. "What kind of changes?" "I want to restrict Veronica's access to our joint credit cards and checking account, at least temporarily." "That's a big step. Can I ask why?" I showed her the credit card statements I'd printed out, pointing to the suspicious charges. "She's been using our money to fund an affair, hotels, restaurants, gifts, all charged to our joint accounts." Janet examined the statements carefully, her expression growing more serious with each page. "This is substantial. These hotel charges alone are over $3,000 in the past 2 months. Can you restrict her access?" "I can, but I'll need documentation. If this goes to divorce court, you'll want a clear paper trail showing financial misconduct." Janet pulled out a legal pad and started making notes. "I'll also need you to open a separate account in your name only. We can transfer your salary there and leave just enough in the joint account for legitimate household expenses." "Do it." "Caleb." Janet's voice was gentler now. "Are you sure about this? Once we start down this path, there's no going back. Your marriage will be over." I thought about Veronica's words at the party, about the months of lies and deception, about the way she'd made me feel like I was crazy for questioning her behavior. It's already over. I'm just making it official. That evening, I drove to Murphy's Gym, a no-frills boxing club in the old part of town. I'd been training there for 3 years, ever since my doctor warned me about stress and high pressure. The owner, Rick Murphy, was a former professional boxer who believed that physical exercise could solve most of life's problems. "You're hitting harder than usual tonight," Rick observed as I worked the heavy bag. Sweat poured down my face, and my knuckles ached inside the boxing gloves. "Working through some issues." "Woman trouble?" I paused my combination and looked at him. Rick was in his 50s, with the weathered face of someone who'd seen plenty of life's ugliness. How'd you know? Because that's how men hit when they're angry at someone they can't actually hit. Rick held the bag steady as I resumed my workout. Want to talk about it? My wife is cheating on me, has been for months. You sure? I have pictures. Rick nodded grimly. What are you going to do about it? I don't know yet, but something. Word of advice from someone who's been there. Don't do anything stupid. Don't hit anyone, don't break any laws, don't give her ammunition to use against you in court. But don't be a doormat either. Sometimes a man has to fight for his dignity. I spent another hour at the gym, working out my anger and frustration on the heavy bag. By the time I got home, I felt clearer, more focused. Veronica's car was in the driveway. She was finally home from her party. She was waiting in the living room, still wearing her red dress, but looking significantly less polished than she had the night before. Her makeup was smudged, her hair disheveled. She looked like she'd been crying. We need to talk, she said as soon as I walked in. Yes, we do. I sat down across from her, maintaining eye contact. How was the rest of your party? Caleb, I'm sorry about what I said. I was nervous and I took it out on you. It wasn't fair. No, it wasn't. I kept my voice calm, controlled. But that's not really what we need to talk about, is it? Her face went pale. What do you mean? I mean Liam Voss. I mean the hotels, the restaurants, the months of lies. I pulled out my phone and showed her one of the photos from our cloud storage. Her and Liam kissing in what looked like a hotel room. I mean this. Veronica stared at the photo for a long moment, her face cycling through shock, fear, and finally resignation. Caleb, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain why you've been spending our money on your affair? Can you explain why you've been lying to me for months? Can you explain why you made me feel crazy for questioning your behavior? Tears started flowing down her cheeks. It just happened. Liam and I were working together so much and we connected and… Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. I don't want to hear excuses. I want to know what you plan to do about it. I'll end it. I'll tell Liam it's over. We can go to counseling. We can work through this. No. I stood up, looking down at her. We can't. You humiliated me last night, Veronica. You told me to stay away from you because I was embarrassing. After 18 years of marriage, after everything we've built together, you were ashamed to be seen with me. And now, I know why. Caleb, please. I've already started the process. Janet is restricting your access to our accounts. I'll be filing for divorce next week. I headed toward the stairs, then turned back. Oh, and Veronica, you might want to check with Liam about his car. Someone seems to have damaged it at the party last night. I left her sitting there and went upstairs to pack a bag. I'd be staying at a hotel for the next few days while I figured out my next move. But one thing was certain. This was just the beginning. 3 days later, I was settled into a modest, extended-stay hotel across town, planning my strategy. Veronica had been calling and texting constantly, alternating between apologies and anger. I'd blocked her main number, but she kept finding new ways to contact me through social media and mutual friends. The real surprise came when our 16-year-old daughter Sophie called me at work. Dad, what the hell is going on? Her voice was tight with frustration. Mom's been crying for 3 days, and she won't tell me anything except that you moved out. I closed my office door and sat down heavily. Sophie was smart, perceptive, and deserved to know the truth, at least a version of it. Your mother and I are having some serious problems, sweetheart. I found out she's been lying to me about some important things. Like what? That's between your mother and me. But Sophie, I want you to know that none of this is your fault, and no matter what happens between us, I love you. There was silence on the other end. Then, is she cheating on you? The question hit me like a punch to the gut. Why would you ask that? Because I'm not stupid, Dad. She's been getting texts at all hours from someone named Liam, and she acts all weird and secretive about it. Plus, she's been dressing up for work meetings way more than usual. I rubbed my forehead, feeling a headache building. Yes, Sophie, she is. God, that's so messed up. Sophie's voice cracked slightly. What are you going to do? I'm going to protect myself and make sure she faces consequences for her choices. But I need you to stay out of it, okay? This is adult business. Fine. But Dad, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at her. That conversation gave me the motivation I needed for the next phase of my plan. If Sophie could see through Veronica's lies, then other people probably could too. It was time to start exposing the truth. I started with Liam's wife, Chloe. I'd met her a few times at company events, a quiet, sweet woman who clearly adored her husband. She deserved to know what kind of man she was married to. I created an anonymous email account and sent her the photos I'd found, along with a simple message. I thought you should know what your husband has been doing with his work colleague, Veronica Rourke. The response was swift and explosive. Within hours, Chloe had stormed into Veronica's office building. I know this because I was sitting in my car across the street, watching and recording everything on my phone. Chloe was a small woman, but fury made her seem larger as she marched through the lobby. 20 minutes later, she emerged dragging a sheepish-looking Liam behind her. Even from across the street, I could see that she was yelling at him, her face red with anger. Then Veronica appeared in the doorway, looking frantic. That's when things got really interesting. Chloe turned on Veronica like a woman possessed. I couldn't hear the words, but I could see Chloe gesturing wildly, pointing at Veronica, clearly laying into her. Then, in a move that surprised everyone including me, Chloe slapped Veronica hard across the face. The slap echoed off the building's glass facade. Several passers-by stopped to watch, and I noticed at least 3 people recording the confrontation on their phones. In today's social media world, this would be online within hours. Veronica stumbled backward, holding her cheek. Liam tried to intervene, but Chloe turned on him next, shoving him hard in the chest. Then she stormed off, leaving both Veronica and Liam standing there, looking humiliated and confused. I drove away feeling satisfied. The public humiliation was just beginning. That evening, I got a call from Elena Cabrera, Veronica's best friend and business partner. Elena was a sharp, ambitious woman who ran a successful PR firm. She and Veronica had been friends since college, and Elena had always treated me with barely concealed disdain. Caleb, we need to talk. Do we? Veronica told me what happened. Look, I know you're hurt, but don't you think you're overreacting? People make mistakes. Marriage is about forgiveness. I almost laughed. Elena, did Veronica tell you she's been using our joint credit cards to pay for hotel rooms where she sleeps with her lover? Did she mention that she's been lying to me for months? Did she explain how she told me to stay away from her at a public event because I was embarrassing her? She's under a lot of stress with the business expansion. Sometimes people make poor choices when they're overwhelmed. That's not an excuse, and you know it. But I appreciate you calling, Elena. It tells me a lot about who I can trust. Caleb, please. Think about Sophie. Think about your family. I am thinking about Sophie. I'm thinking about what kind of example we're setting for her. I'm thinking about whether I want my daughter to grow up believing it's okay for people to lie and cheat and humiliate their spouses without consequences. Elena was quiet for a moment. What do you want from Veronica? Nothing. I want her to face the consequences of her choices. I want everyone who knows us to understand what kind of person she really is. And I want to move on with my life. You're going to destroy her. No, Elena. She destroyed herself. I'm just making sure people can see it. I hung up and immediately called Janet to discuss the next phase of my financial strategy. If Veronica wanted to play games, I was going to make sure I won. The next morning brought news that made me smile for the first time in days. Danny showed me a video that was trending on social media, Chloe's confrontation with Veronica, recorded by a bystander and posted with the caption, "Cheating wife gets what she deserves." The video had over 50,000 views and hundreds of comments, most of them condemning Veronica's behavior. Her carefully crafted professional image was crumbling in real time. But I wasn't done yet, not even close. The video of Veronica getting slapped had gone viral in our city's social media circles, but I knew that was just the beginning. Public humiliation was satisfying, but I wanted something more permanent, something that would have lasting consequences for her and everyone who had enabled her betrayal. I spent the weekend researching Veronica's company, studying their client contracts and financial arrangements. What I found was interesting. Liam wasn't just Veronica's lover, he was also her business partner in several high-profile corporate events. More importantly, he'd been billing his consulting fees to clients at an inflated rate while doing substandard work. I also discovered that Elena's PR firm had been covering up several incidents where Veronica's events had gone badly wrong. A catering disaster here, a venue double booking there, always with Elena spinning the story to protect Veronica's reputation. The two women had been protecting each other's businesses for years, sometimes at their clients' expense. Monday morning, I made a series of phone calls. The first was to Marcus Chen, the CEO of Pinnacle Industries, one of Veronica's biggest corporate clients. Marcus and I had worked together years ago at a different company, and I knew he valued honesty above all else. "Caleb, good to hear from you. How's the family?" "Actually, Marcus, that's why I'm calling. I need to tell you something about the corporate retreat Veronica planned for you last month." I explained about Veronica's affair with Liam and how they'd been billing Pinnacle for consulting services while using company funds to pay for their romantic getaways. I sent Marcus copies of the credit card statements and hotel receipts, all carefully documented and cross-referenced. Marcus was quiet for a long moment after I finished. "Are you certain about this, Caleb?" "I have documentation for everything. Bank records, photos, hotel receipts, all of it. They've been using your corporate account to fund their affair." "Jesus Christ, we paid them nearly $40,000 for that retreat. And how much of that do you think actually went toward the event versus their personal expenses?" "I'm going to have our legal team review this immediately. Thank you for bringing it to my attention." "Marcus, there's one more thing. I believe Elena Cabrera's PR firm has been helping cover up other incidents where Veronica's events went wrong. You might want to look into that as well." The second call was to the Better Business Bureau, filing formal complaints against both Veronica's event planning company and Elena's PR firm. I provided detailed documentation of their unethical business practices and client deception. The third call was to the local business journal, specifically to a reporter named Sarah Williams, who specialized in exposing corporate misconduct. I'd met Sarah at a networking event years ago and remembered her as someone who didn't shy away from difficult stories. "Sarah, this is Caleb Rourke. I have a story for you about some local businesses that have been defrauding their corporate clients." "I'm listening." I gave Sarah the full story, the affair, the financial misconduct, the cover-ups, everything. I provided her with copies of all my documentation and suggested she contact some of Veronica's former clients to see if there were other incidents that had been swept under the rug. "This is substantial, Caleb, but I have to ask, you're going through a divorce with one of these women. How do I know this isn't just revenge?" "Because I have documentation for everything. Bank records, contracts, client communications. It's all verifiable. And Sarah, I think if you dig deeper, you'll find this pattern goes back years. Give me a week to investigate. If this checks out, it'll be front-page news." That afternoon, I received an angry phone call from Veronica. "What the hell did you do? Marcus Chen just called and canceled our contract with Pinnacle. He's demanding a full refund and threatening to sue us." I told him the truth about how you and Liam have been spending his money. You bastard! You're trying to destroy my business. No, Veronica. You destroyed your business when you decided to use it as a cover for your affair. I just made sure your clients knew what they were paying for. This is going too far, Caleb. This affects Sophie too. If my business fails, how am I supposed to support our daughter? You should have thought about that before you started cheating. Actions have consequences. She hung up on me, but I wasn't finished. That evening, I drove to Elena's office building and waited in the parking garage. I knew she worked late most nights, and I wanted to have a private conversation with her. Elena emerged from the elevator at nearly 9 p.m., looking tired and stressed. She saw me leaning against her car and stopped short. Caleb, what are you doing here? We need to talk, Elena. Really talk this time. I have nothing to say to you. But I have plenty to say to you. I pushed off from her car and stepped closer. See, I've been doing some research into your business practices. Interesting how many of Veronica's disasters you've managed to cover up over the years. Elena's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. The Hartwell wedding where the catering company gave everyone food poisoning, but your press releases blamed it on a seasonal flu outbreak? The Morrison corporate retreat where the venue double-booked and left 50 executives without accommodations, but you spun it as a spontaneous team-building exercise? Should I go on? Those were legitimate PR strategies. Those were lies, Elena. Lies that protected Veronica's reputation while leaving clients holding the bag for her incompetence. I pulled out my phone and showed her a voice recording app. And I'm very curious about how long you've known about her affair with Liam. Elena stared at the phone, then back at my face. You're recording this? I'm giving you a chance to tell the truth. How long have you known about Veronica and Liam? I don't have to answer that. No, you don't. But tomorrow morning, a reporter from the Business Journal is going to start calling your clients to ask about your business practices. She's going to want to know about all those cover-ups, all those times you helped Veronica lie to paying customers. How do you think that's going to affect your reputation? Elena leaned back against her car, looking defeated. What do you want from me? I want you to admit that you've been helping Veronica deceive her clients. I want you to admit that you've known about her affair and helped her hide it. And I want you to understand that your friendship with her has cost you your credibility. Fine. Yes, I knew about Liam. I've known for months. And yes, I've helped cover up some of Veronica's mistakes. But that's what friends do. They protect each other. No, Elena. That's what accomplices do. Friends tell each other the truth, even when it hurts. Friends don't enable destructive behavior. I stopped recording and put my phone away. You had a choice to make months ago. You could have told Veronica to end the affair and fix her marriage, or you could have told me what was happening. Instead, you chose to help her lie and cheat and humiliate me. Now you get to face the consequences of that choice. I walked away, leaving Elena standing alone in the parking garage. By the time I got back to my hotel, I had 3 missed calls from Veronica and 2 from Liam. I deleted them all without listening. The trap was closing, and there was no way out. The Business Journal article hit like a bombshell on Thursday morning. Sarah Williams had done her homework thoroughly, interviewing former clients and documenting a pattern of deception and financial misconduct that went back 3 years. The headline read, "Local event planner and PR firm accused of systematic client fraud." The article detailed everything: the affair, the misuse of client funds, the cover-ups, the fake press releases. Sarah had even tracked down clients who had been quietly dissatisfied with Veronica's services, but had been convinced by Elena's spin to keep their complaints private. By noon, both Veronica's and Elena's businesses were in free fall. Clients were canceling contracts, demanding refunds, and threatening lawsuits. The local Chamber of Commerce had suspended both companies' memberships pending investigation. I was at my desk at TechFlow when Danny rushed over with his laptop. "Dude, you need to see this. Your wife is trending on Twitter, and it's not good." The hashtag #OursEventPlannerScam was picking up steam, with people sharing stories about Veronica's company and Elena's PR firm. Someone had created a meme using a screenshot from the slapping video with the caption, "When you find out your event planner used your money for her affair." But the real shock came when Sophie called me, crying, "Dad, everyone at school has seen the article. Everyone knows about Mom's affair. People are sharing that stupid video of her getting slapped. I can't show my face in the hallway." My heart sank. I'd been so focused on getting revenge against Veronica that I hadn't fully considered how this would affect our daughter. "Sophie, I'm sorry. I never wanted you to get hurt by this." "Then why did you do it? Why did you have to make it so public?" "Because your mother needed to face consequences for her actions. Because I was tired of being humiliated and lied to. Because—" I stopped myself. These weren't reasons a 16-year-old should have to understand. "Because what, Dad?" "Because sometimes adults make terrible choices, and other adults have to decide how to respond. I chose to fight back instead of just accepting it quietly." Sophie was quiet for a moment. "I hate her for what she did to you. But I hate this whole situation. I hate that everyone knows our business. I hate that my friends look at me like I'm some kind of freak show. Do you want to stay with me for a while? I can get a bigger hotel room, or we can look for an apartment." "No, I want this to be over. I want everything to go back to normal." "I don't think that's possible anymore, sweetheart." That evening, I got the call I'd been expecting. It was from Tom Bradley, a lawyer who specialized in family law. "Mr. Rourke, your wife has retained me to represent her in your divorce proceedings. She's also asked me to inform you that she's considering filing harassment charges against you." "On what grounds?" "She claims you've been systematically destroying her business and reputation through false accusations and harassment of her clients." I almost laughed. "False accusations? I have documentation for everything I've shared. Bank records, photos, hotel receipts. It's all verifiable." "Be that as it may, she's asking you to cease all contact with her clients and business associates. Any further interference with her professional relationships will be considered harassment. Tell Mrs. Rourke that I'll stop interfering with her business when she stops using our joint assets to fund her affair. Until then, I'll continue to protect my financial interests by any legal means necessary. Mr. Rourke, I strongly advise you to retain counsel immediately. This situation is escalating beyond a simple divorce." After hanging up, I called Janet to discuss moving our remaining joint assets into protected accounts. Then I called a lawyer of my own, Patricia Wong, who had a reputation for being brilliant and ruthless in divorce cases. Patricia's office was impressive, all dark wood and leather-bound law books. She listened to my story without interruption, occasionally taking notes on a yellow legal pad. "You've been thorough," she said when I finished. "Perhaps too thorough." "What do you mean?" "You've documented everything perfectly for a divorce case. The adultery, the financial misconduct, the deception, it's all there. But you've also created a public relations nightmare that could backfire on you." "How so?" "Your wife's lawyer is going to paint you as a vindictive husband who destroyed a woman's business out of spite. They'll argue that your actions were disproportionate to her offense, especially since they're affecting your daughter." I leaned back in my chair, feeling a knot form in my stomach. "So, what do you recommend?" "We proceed with the divorce based on adultery and financial misconduct. We use your documentation to secure a favorable settlement, but we stop the public campaign immediately. No more talking to reporters, no more contacting her clients, no more social media warfare. And if she continues the affair, that's her choice. Your marriage is over either way. The question is whether you want to win the divorce or win the war. You can't do both without destroying yourself in the process." That night, I sat in my hotel room thinking about everything that had happened. I'd succeeded in exposing Veronica's lies and destroying her business. I'd humiliated her publicly and cost her most of her friends and professional relationships. I'd proven that I wasn't the weak, passive husband she'd thought she could walk all over, but I'd also hurt my daughter and potentially damaged my own reputation in the process. The question was whether it had been worth it. My phone rang. It was Veronica, calling from a number I hadn't blocked yet. "Caleb, please. We need to talk. Really talk this time." "I'm listening." "Not over the phone. Meet me somewhere, anywhere. I need to explain some things to you, and you need to understand what you've done." I thought about Patricia's advice to stop the public campaign. Maybe it was time for one final conversation. "Tomorrow night, Murphy's Gym on 5th Street, 8 p.m. "A gym? It's neutral territory. And Veronica? Come alone. If I see Liam or Elena or anyone else, I'm leaving." "I'll be there." I hung up and stared out the hotel window at the city lights below. Tomorrow night, one way or another, this would end. Murphy's Gym was nearly empty at 8 p.m. on a Friday night. Just a few serious boxers working the heavy bags and Rick cleaning equipment behind the counter. I'd been there for an hour, working out my nervous energy and thinking about what I wanted to say to Veronica. She arrived exactly on time, looking smaller and more fragile than I'd seen her in years. Gone was the polished, confident woman who had told me to stay away from her at the party. This Veronica looked tired, defeated, almost broken. "Thank you for meeting me," she said quietly. "Let's talk outside. There's a loading dock behind the building where we can have privacy." The loading dock was lit by a single security light, casting long shadows across the empty space. In the distance, traffic hummed along the interstate, but here it was quiet enough to have a real conversation. "You've destroyed everything," Veronica said, leaning against the brick wall. "My business, my reputation, my friendships, all of it. Was that really necessary? You destroyed our marriage. You humiliated me publicly. You used our money to fund your affair. What did you expect me to do?" "I expected you to be angry. I expected you to file for divorce. I didn't expect you to systematically destroy my entire life." I studied her face in the dim light. "Tell me something, Veronica. When you were planning this affair, when you were lying to me for months, when you were spending our money on hotel rooms with Liam, did you ever think about what it would do to me? Did you ever consider how I would feel when I found out?" She was quiet for a long moment. "No, I didn't think you'd find out." "That's not what I asked. I asked if you thought about how it would affect me." I tried not to think about it. I told myself it wasn't really hurting you because you didn't know. But it was hurting me. Every time you lied to me, every time you made me feel crazy for questioning your behavior, every time you chose him over me, it was hurting me. And when I finally found out the truth, it nearly destroyed me. Tears started flowing down her cheeks. "I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Caleb." "Are you? Are you sorry you did it? Or are you sorry you got caught?" "I'm sorry I did it. The affair was a mistake. A terrible, selfish mistake that I regret every day." "What about the way you treated me? What about telling me to stay away from you at the party? What about making me feel like I was an embarrassment to you?" Veronica covered her face with her hands. "I was trying to protect the affair. I was afraid people would see us together and notice that something was wrong. I was afraid they'd figure out what I was doing." "So you humiliated your husband of 18 years to protect your affair?" "Yes, and I hate myself for it." I walked to the edge of the loading dock and looked out at the city. "Do you know what the worst part was, Veronica? It wasn't the cheating, as much as that hurt. It was the way you made me feel like I was losing my mind. For months, I knew something was wrong, but every time I asked you about it, you made me feel like I was being paranoid and controlling. You gaslit me, Veronica. You made me doubt my own perceptions and instincts. I was scared. I didn't know how to end it with Liam, and I didn't know how to tell you the truth. So instead, you decided to keep lying and hope I never found out." "Yes." I turned back to face her. "And Elena? How long has she been helping you?" "From the beginning. She knew about Liam from the first week. She helped me come up with excuses for where I was, helped me cover my tracks. She even helped me hide some of the expenses by routing them through fake business accounts. So it wasn't just an affair. It was a conspiracy. You and Elena worked together to deceive me for months. Elena was trying to protect me. Elena was trying to protect herself. Her business depended on your success, and she knew that if our marriage fell apart, it would hurt both of your companies. So she helped you lie. Veronica slumped against the wall, looking exhausted. What do you want from me, Caleb? What will it take for you to stop? I've lost my business, most of my clients, my reputation. What more do you want? I want you to understand something. For 18 years, I loved you completely. I supported your dreams. I helped build your business. I was proud to be your husband. And you threw all of that away for what? For some excitement? For the thrill of sneaking around? For a man who was willing to cheat on his own wife? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me. Make me understand how 18 years of marriage was worth less to you than a few months of affair. Veronica was crying harder now, her whole body shaking. I felt invisible. I felt like you didn't see me anymore, like I was just the mother of your child and the person who kept your house clean. Liam made me feel beautiful and exciting and important. So instead of talking to me about it, instead of suggesting counseling or trying to work on our marriage, you decided to have an affair. I was going to end it. I was going to tell Liam it was over and try to fix things with you. When? When were you going to do that? I don't know. Soon. Bullshit. You were never going to end it. You were going to keep lying and cheating until either I found out or you decided you wanted to be with him permanently. You were going to string me along while you figured out what you really wanted. Veronica didn't deny it, which was answer enough. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice calm and steady. We're going to get divorced. You're going to agree to a settlement that reflects the financial damage you've caused to our marriage. You're going to split custody of Sophie with me, and you're going to explain to her why our marriage ended without trying to make me the villain. And in return, I'll stop contacting your former clients. I'll stop talking to reporters. I'll let you try to rebuild your business without further interference from me. What about Liam? What about him? His wife left him. He's lost his job. His reputation is ruined. I shrugged. Actions have consequences. He knew he was married when he decided to sleep with you. He knew you were married too. Whatever happens to him now is the result of choices he made. And Elena? Elena made her choice when she decided to help you deceive me. She can live with the consequences of that choice. Veronica wiped her eyes and looked at me directly. Do you hate me? I thought about the question seriously. No, I don't hate you, but I don't love you anymore either. You eliminated that love when you chose to lie and cheat and humiliate me. What I feel now is indifference. You're the mother of my child, and I'll always respect that, but you're not my wife anymore, not in any way that matters. Can you ever forgive me? Forgiveness isn't something you can ask for, Veronica. It's something that might happen over time, if you earn it. But right now, I'm not interested in forgiving you. I'm interested in moving on with my life. We stood in silence for several minutes, the weight of 18 years of marriage settling between us like a funeral shroud. I should go, Veronica said finally. Yes, you should. She walked toward her car, then turned back. Caleb, for what it's worth, I really am sorry, not just for getting caught, but for doing it in the first place. You deserved better. Yes, I did. I watched her drive away, then went back into the gym. Rick was still there, organizing equipment. How'd it go? He asked. It's over. Really over this time. You feel better? I thought about it. I feel finished. Like I've said everything I needed to say and done everything I needed to do. That's good. That's how you know it's really over. I drove back to my hotel, but instead of going to my room, I sat in the parking lot and called Sophie. Hey, sweetheart. How are you doing? Better, I guess. The whole thing at school is starting to die down. People are moving on to other drama. Good. Listen, your mom and I just had a long talk. We're going to proceed with the divorce, but we're going to try to keep things civil from now on, for your sake. Does that mean you're going to stop trying to destroy her business? Yes. It means I'm going to focus on moving forward instead of looking backward. Good. I'm tired of all the fighting and drama. I just want things to be normal again. They will be. It'll take time, but we'll figure out a new normal that works for all of us. Dad, I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. I just wish it hadn't gotten so messy. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. After hanging up, I sat in my car for a long time, thinking about everything that had happened. I'd gotten my revenge. Veronica's business was destroyed, her reputation was ruined, her affair was exposed, and her marriage was over. I'd proven that I wasn't the weak, passive husband she'd thought she could walk all over. But revenge, I realized, was a hollow victory. It didn't heal the hurt, or restore the trust, or bring back the love that had been lost. It just created new pain on top of the old pain. Tomorrow, I would start the process of rebuilding my life. I would find a new apartment, establish a custody arrangement with Sophie, and focus on my own happiness instead of Veronica's destruction. Tonight, though, I just sat in my car and mourned the end of 18 years of marriage, and the man I used to be before I learned that sometimes the people you love most are capable of hurting you the deepest.